I inherited a rubbish heap. 10 years later, a rusted toolbox broke my reality. My family always called my late Uncle Silas a disgrace. They said he was a quitter and a drunk. When he passed away 5 years ago, the only thing he left me in his will was a worthless junk heap outside of town. My family always called my Uncle Silas the black sheep, a drunk, a quitter, a man who never held a job for more than 3 months. When he passed away 5 years ago, the only thing he left me in his will was a half-acre of scrubland that we all assumed was worthless. A forgotten junk heap outside of town. The family told me to sell it, to erase the memory of a man they considered a disgrace. I spent 5 years hating him for leaving me a burden. But last Thursday, I finally decided to clear the land. And underneath a pile of rotted wood, I found a rusted silver toolbox. Inside, there was no money, there were no alternate IDs. There was just a final letter and a pair of tarnished engineering blueprints that completely destroyed the reality I had built. I didn't just inherit a rubbish heap. I inherited a sacrifice that cost him everything. To understand the truth, you have to understand who they wanted me to believe he was. Uncle Silas was my father's younger brother. In our small town, reputation was everything. The story was that Silas dropped out of college, started drinking, and lived a selfish life on the fringe of society. He worked as a mechanic for a few years, but got fired for showing up late. We saw him maybe once a year, at Christmas, where he'd sit silently, drinking his beer, while the rest of the family gossiped about his latest failure. I loved him, though. When I was a kid, he'd fix my toy trucks. He never said much, but his hands were magic. Yet the pressure to conform was immense. As I grew older, I started believing the stories. I began to look at him with the same condescension my father did. I became ashamed of the man who had been my childhood hero. That's why the will was such a final insult. It felt like his last act of indifference. While my father inherited the family business, and my aunt inherited the house, I got the land we all called Silas's Folly. I avoided that land. It was just a place where things went to die. But with my own business struggling, and my credit maxed out, I finally conceded. I needed to sell it to pay off the final notices. On the first day of clearing, the heat was suffocating. I felt a cold knot tighten in my stomach every time I unearthed another useless piece of trash. Rotted mattresses, parts of an old engine, broken appliances. It was all a testament to his supposed worthlessness. I was about to give up when my backhoe hit something solid. It wasn't the sound of stone. It was metal, rusted and heavy. Underneath a decaying pile of old lumber, I found it. A vintage, heavy-duty silver toolbox. The lock had been hammered shut. For 10 minutes I taunted myself, wondering if this was his grand joke. I finally grabbed a flathead screwdriver and smashed it open. My heart hammered against my ribs. I grabbed the box, my fingers trembling so hard I almost dropped it. The inside smelled like motor oil and old paper. There was no cash, but there was a thick manila envelope and a rolled-up set of heavy blueprints. I opened the blueprints first. They weren't for some useless contraption. They were highly detailed, patent-ready designs for a self-cleaning respiratory filter for mine workers, the kind that could prevent diseases that kill thousands every year. The signature on the corner was Silas's, dated exactly 20 years prior. Then I opened the envelope. Inside was a legal contract with a massive, international mining conglomerate, and a handwritten letter with his messy signature. The date on the envelope was the exact day before he dropped out of college and disappeared. I spent the next 3 days straight in that suffocating garage, translating the blueprints, reading the contracts. He was funding his secret. The fired mechanic was the lead designer. The letter began, "My dearest kid, if you are reading this, I am gone, and you finally descend. I did to do something with this land. I am so sorry for the villain I had to become. 20 years ago, I didn't drop out because I was lazy. I dropped out because I completed this patent. The mining company I was working for offered me millions for it. But they wanted the rights, and they wanted to shelve it. It would eat into their profits from medical equipment sales. I couldn't let my creation be the anchor that drowned thousands of workers. I broke the contract. I stole the blueprints back. I knew they would litigate. I knew they would blacklist me. I knew they would destroy my reputation and leave me broke. I had to become a disgrace. I had to create a documented paper trail of extreme incompetence and substance abuse to prove to the company that the patent was a useless figment of my confused mind. I had to ruin my reputation to save a future where men could breathe without fear. I took this worthless piece of land because it was the only place I could bury the truth where they wouldn't look. I spent my final months building this box, writing down every memory we ever had, so you would know you were loved. I am so sorry I broke your heart to save your future. Please, forgive me. I dropped the letter and wept. I wept for the 20 years we spent together, and I wept for the man who spent his final days orchestrating his own downfall just to build a shield around me. The woman I thought was a gold digger had sacrificed her dying days, enduring agonizing medical trials alone in a strange city just to protect my financial future. She orchestrated her own villainous exit to spare me the trauma of watching her wither away. I took the blueprints to a rival company that specialized in humanitarian engineering.